Welcome back to GameSpot Cross Kind of Funny. My name is Colin Moriarty. This is the illustrious Koji Igarashi and Ben Judd, and we're here to talk a little bit about Bloodstained. Not for enough time, though. I looked at the schedule and I was a little distressed that we only have 15 minutes. I like that you said, with Greg Miller laying on the ground over here, acting the fool, when we could have been talking about Bloodstained for another 5 minutes.
That was a 5-minute roll on the ground
yeah,
thing,
it was
wasn't
weird.
it? That was a bit long.
It's what they call performance art.
Okay.
Yeah, it's what they call performance.
Well, if it's art, I really can't say anything bad about it.
All right, so, guys, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Unbelievable success with Bloodstained. I'm so proud of you guys and happy for you guys that you guys made this happen. Obviously, up in San Francisco when the Kickstarter launched, we did the live stream together at Twitch TV and just watched it, basically this dream come true. And I'm curious what this last month has been like for you.
この1ヶ月、まあね、キックスターターキャンペーンうまくいって、それで自分がずっと作りたかったゲームは作れるようになったっていう、その気持ちどんな感じですか？
その前の大きな会社を辞めてから1年間ちょっと準備をいろいろやってたんで、やっと。
I like that you said, with Greg Miller laying on the ground over here, the fool, when we could have been talking about Bloodstained for another 5 minutes.
That was a 5-minute roll on the ground
yeah,
thing,
it was
wasn't
weird.
it? That was a bit long.
It's what they call performance art.
Okay.
Yeah, it's what they call performance art.
Well, if it's art, I really can't say anything bad about it.
All right, so, guys, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Unbelievable success with Bloodstained. I'm so proud of you guys and happy for you guys that you guys made this happen. Obviously, up in San Francisco when the Kickstarter launched, we did the live stream together at Twitch TV and just watched it, basically this dream come true. And I'm curious what this last month has been like for you.
この1ヶ月、まあね、キックスターターキャンペーンうまくいって、それで自分がずっと作りたかったゲームは作れるようになったっていう、その気持ちどんな感じですか？
その前の大きな会社を辞めてから1年間ちょっと準備をいろいろやってたんで、やっとここに来てできるんだっていうすごい感動ですね。
Yeah, when you think about it, I left a major publisher, Konami, and I had a whole year of planning and of trying to pitch publishers on my game idea, and it never really got a lot of traction. So I was at a low point in my life when we started the Kickstarter campaign, and to go from such a low to such a high, and to know that now I'm back and going to be able to create games again, that's a great feeling.
It's awesome to hear that. It's awesome to hear that. What is the infusion of capital that you guys got from Kickstarter mean? Because you doubled, triple, quadrupled like what you were asking for. And of course you also have backing in Japan from other sources. So what does this particularly mean for the evolution of Bloodstained and what it will become?
想像してた額よりははるかにもう10倍ぐらい入ったじゃないですか。まあそんだけプラスアルファのお金が入ることによっては何ができますか？ブラッドステインでは。
ですね、ストレッチゴールで設定したのがかなりいい感じの金額で設定されているので、ストレッチゴールで達成したミニゲームであったりとか、あとボリュームが増えることであったりとかというのがすべて思い描いてたものがすべてできるようになりました。
Yeah, so of course with a Kickstarter campaign, you have your original goal, and it should be set for a very realistic number. But beyond that, you have these stretch goals, and each stretch goal, of course, we talked with the production side and made sure what the cost would be to implement this thing. And sometimes there's a little bit pulled forward, and sometimes it's pulled backward. But at the end of the day, clearing all these stretch goals meant that we were allowed to add in a whole bunch of new modes. Iga was allowed to make his biggest castle ever, which is something people are super excited about. And of course the mini prelude game that's going to be on a lot of different consoles as well that would be free for the backers. So just a whole lot of content. Basically everything that he ever wanted to make, he can now make.
That's awesome to hear. So what happens now? You guys are here until Saturday, you were saying, then back to Japan you go. Is Indie Creates already working on the game? Are things in motion? What is this? Is it kind of like Kickstarter seemed like a hurry up and wait kind of situation where it was like, got the Kickstarter up, I saw you guys stressing in my apartment that those couple days before you launch it, everything's great. Now it's go time. So what's happening over at Indie Creates right now?
まあ焦ってキャンペーンやって毎日バンバンもう作業やってる感じじゃないですか。でも終わった一応。 今、E3 に来てなかなか休む間もないと思いますけれども、これと並行してインティグレート様はどんなことはやってますか？すでにもう作業はかかってはりますか？
まだですね、今、ストレッチゴールを達成したことで、やっと最終的に何を作るかが決まったので、ここからもう一度計画を作り直しをしてます、今。
So actually, because you add stretch goals, what it basically means is what your original concept and design was, it now starts to expand, and you have to basically plan now what your new foundation for the game is going to be. So after E3 is over, we will go back. Iga will start planning very carefully with Indie Creates now that we know what the whole scope of the game is, and make sure that everything fits within the budget, and more importantly, the timeline.
Awesome. I was lucky enough to speak to another one of my favorite Japanese devs yesterday, Keiji Inafune, who, as you know full well, ran another successful Kickstarter with Mighty No. 9. And I asked him a question: how did it feel to inspire other developers, maybe in the East, maybe here in the States, wherever, that they can strike out and do something unique and something different, but also something familiar and something that people would want? And I'm curious, now that Iga had meteoric success on Kickstarter, if he's also excited that now this is another stepping stone for other developers to say, maybe we can buck the trend, maybe we can get away from this big publisher mentality and get in and make the games we want to make for the people that want them.
先日ですね、イネフネ様も一応、このステージにやったと思うんですけれども、その時コリン様はやっぱりなんていう、ずっと従来のパブリッシングモデルではなく、一般人からお金いただいて新しいスタイルのゲームを開発できるっていうことに対してどう思いますかって聞かれたら、これによってはいろんな開発会社にはいろんな可能性が来るので、キックスターター素晴らしいと思いますよと。で、イカ様も言ってみりゃ、キックスターターキャンペーンやってものすごいうまくいったわけじゃないですか。同じようにこれはやっぱりいろんなそういう独立しているスタジオにとってはいろんなチャンスを与えてくれるシステムなのでいいと思いますか？
はい、僕たちはその大手にいたっていうのもあって、一通りしかその1種類しかなかったんですけど、今回このキックスターターをやってもっといろんな可能性があるということと、あと今回良かったなと思うのは、バッカーの人たちと密にコミュニケーションをとって、なんかそのコミュニティグループっていうんですかね、そういうのを作ることができたっていうのが非常に大きかったなと思ってます。
Yeah, so it's been a common sentiment that one of the things Kickstarter does allows a wide variety of different developers more options, and that's what Kickstarter needs to do. And of course, he's very happy that people will see that there are other options out there than being forced to rely on the traditional publisher model. Still, the one thing that he found very endearing about doing a Kickstarter was just the community that was created. We spent a lot of time and energy in listening to what the people wanted for stretch goals, to making sure we were actively talking with them on a daily basis, and to make sure that they were involved, obviously with the backer achievements, giving us art, giving us music, and putting that all together to create a community, because that's what it should be about. It's not just the independent developer getting an opportunity, it's the independent developer getting an opportunity to be with their community and build the game out with that approach.
One of the things I want to give a shout out to, a couple of the unsung heroes of this project, I think, and I think one of them is you, Ben. I think you work tirelessly behind the scenes to make these things happen, and also to the guys and gals at Fangamer. And I'm curious, how did that collaboration happen? And those guys seem real industrious and hardworking, and I feel like they kind of fell behind the scenes, as you do when you're making, when you're in the presence of someone like Iga. But how does it feel to kind of watch this happen, and how did it feel to kind of watch the Fangamer guys also really contribute to this project?
Let me translate that really quickly.
Yeah.
一応これはベンに向かった質問なので、ベンは答えさせてもらいますけれども、いいですか？
どうぞ。
はい。So for me, of course, I'm an ex-producer at Capcom, and I'm a firm believer in specialization. Fangamer, those guys are the best at what they do, certainly merchandising, but even for the campaign, they really get it. They are fans of all the games that they support. Obviously, they started with the Earthbound stuff, and it's some of the best merchandise you can ever get. So having them on board to sort of make sure that all the icons, all the information, all that was great, worked out. Some of the different ideas that I was able to bring to the table, and then again, the communication to make sure that we were able to offer packages. That stuff's not easy. That was a lot of planning, and we had to constantly convince first party to be able to support this. It's not always easy. But it seemed to be the right blend of you had a rock star, talented guy who is, bar none, I work with a lot of talented developers in Japan, but he is the most humble. He is one of my heroes, and to be able to work with him was great. But then on top of that, to be able to explore new ideas like backer achievements, like having the right stretch goals, like working with the different package options that we had. That was great, and being able to communicate with the different people. And of course, like I said, Fangamer, their heart is in it. And when somebody's heart is in it, it's going to show in the end product. And those guys worked harder than they've probably ever worked before, to the point where at the very end, we gave ourselves the handshakes, the high fives, but we're like, okay, let's not do another Kickstarter for another few months at least, because it wears you out.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see it on your guys' faces and all of this. Well, we're here at E3, and obviously you guys are here for meetings and to kind of wrap things up or whatever, but are either of you seeing anything that interests you, whether it's from the conferences or here on the show floor or behind closed doors? Anything worth noting that you think looks good coming out this year, next year, anything like this?
E3 っていうことで、実際回ってるかどうかわからないんですけれども、見てこれはいいねとかすごいなと思う商品ってありましたか？
今回はちょっとやっぱり気になってたのはプロジェクトモーフィアスがあったじゃないですか、バーチャルリアリティの鉄拳の原田さんがやってるサマーレッスンが出てたんで、サマーレッスンっていう女の子とバーチャル体験をする東京ゲームショウとは出てなかったのにこっちには出てるんだと思ってちょっとドキドキしちゃいました。
He said, Project Morpheus was super interesting for me, and I love that. But I was probably most shocked by the fact that there's the summer lesson game where it's a tutor, I think, that you're a tutor teaching a young schoolgirl, which seems very Japanese anime and very Japanese culture specific. But it was not shown at Tokyo Game Show, but it was shown here at E3. So that was a bit of a surprise for Iga.
How about you, Ben? Did you see anything that was
so listen, I'm in the background in the Japan industry, and so I hear a lot of the games that are being announced. I knew about Final Fantasy VII long before it was announced. I knew about Shenmue 3. I was most surprised by just how far along Last Guardian was, because obviously there were some problems during the initial development, but they really pulled it together, and what they showed was truly amazing. So totally props to Sony for being able to wrap the holy triumvirate, all three of those titles in a single show. I was super impressed.
So obviously you said you're going to go back to Japan, you got to figure out your timeline and kind of schedule things out. Do you have any hopes of when Bloodstained might be available? If not, obviously for gamers, but maybe in beta form like you guys did with Mighty No. 9, for instance, or like Inafune and those guys did with Mighty No. 9. Is there anything in your mind in terms of a timeline in which you're like, this is the roadmap in my head? Yeah.
みんなはきっと早くプレイボール手に入れたいと思うんですけれども、プレイボールが出そうな時期とかありますかね？別に約束しなくてもいいんですけれども、これを目指してますねとか。
そうですね。まずファーストプレイヤブルを来年の E3 とかには間に合わせたいですよね、なんとなくね。せっかくこんだけお祭り騒ぎになるんだから、そこにね触れるものが出てたらいいですよねと僕はちょっと思ってます。
So, without being 100% committal, because we have to go back now that we know all the stretch goals and replan, it would be ideal to be able to get this out for E3 next year. The backers are already saying, when is the playable? Is it going to be next month or the month after? We want to get it to them as soon as possible so we can get that valuable feedback. But the goal right now is E3 next year.
Oh, that's awesome. I was shocked and kind of honored as a Vita player that there was a Vita stretch goal. And you guys found Armature to kind of help you guys with that. How do you identify the partners that you work with for these different things that you don't think you can do internally? Obviously, Indie Creates was identified as the developer, but you realize that they can't or don't want to or don't have the time to do these ports. How do you identify the people that you trust in the industry and you know that the game, that your beloved game that so much is riding on is in good hands with another studio?
ビータ版も出たっていうのはすごい奇跡的だと思うんですけれども、どうやって本当に作れる自信を持ってこのパートナーだったらできるねっていうのを見つけれますか？
ですね、これは優秀なエージェントさんが見つけてきてくれたんですけどまず技術的に高いっていうのを自分たちでももちろん当然言うとは思うんですが、それよりも周りの人の評判が非常に高いところを選んでくれたので、まず確実にできると僕は自信を持って言えると思います。
So again, it's always embarrassing to translate when your client compliments you, but he said, well, I had a really awesome agent, which of course is me. But additionally, he's like, for the example of Armature doing the Vita version, they are a developer that everyone that he talked to personally said that they're the right dudes for the job. They're great. His contacts at Nintendo said they're awesome. Even sort of the fan comments suggested that they are the right developer for the job. Myself as an agent, I'm all about connecting different partners together to make sure the package is the best that it possibly can be. Armature is a very unique company in so much as they have worked with Nintendo Japan, they've worked with Capcom Japan, and Konami Japan. So they're very flexible when it comes to understanding the Japanese development culture, which isn't always easy for a Western developer. That being said, they've also worked with Warner, they've worked with EA, they've worked with a wide variety of Western publishers too. So they really are right in the middle, and they are the right company that was just extremely motivated to do it. They have worked on Vita, they have worked on Nintendo hardware before, and so it was clear right away that they were going to be the right guys to do this job.
I don't know if you guys have answered this question already, but I don't think you have. Now that Mighty Number 9 is very close to being released, they identified a publisher that is going to help them get the game out there. And one of the things I really respected about the Kickstarter was that initially you were like, we went to 24 publishers, no one was interested. We do have financial backing, but we need to make some, the proof's in the pudding. We need some proof. Are you guys going to find a similar route to find someone to at least help you distribute the game when it gets closer to release, like the Deep Silver or whoever you might identify? Is there any plan to do that, or is this something, can you even manufacture these games without a publisher? Like, what does that end game kind of look like?
これも一部ベンは回答したいと思いますけれども、その最初彼でもやっぱり透明性を持ってゲームを作るにはお金、一部その投資のところからもらってるんですけれども、本当にゲームを作るにはキックスターターでそれ証明しないといけないとか、そういうのはあったんですけれども、ちゃんとはっきりとそれを前をもって言いましたよね、バッカーに。
はいはい、言いました。
でもこれからゲームをリリースするにはやっぱり流通とかそこら辺はパートナーに任せないといけないんですよね。
はいはい、そうですそうです。はい、はい、その通りです。
So, yeah, in order to do retail versions for most of the different hardware, you do need to have some sort of partner that has a publishing contract with first party. So that is a given. But I think one of the things that people appreciated on our Kickstarter was that we were very clear from day one. And it was easy to be clear because that was the actual deal. We did spend an entire year going to every single publishing source and asking them through the traditional publishing model, can you do this? And they all said no. So what we explained on the Kickstarter video, which is that we have background investment, but we need to prove out that there is an interest to a certain level on Kickstarter, that was our only option. There were no other options. So I think that sort of honesty and that transparency is something that a lot of people appreciated.
Yep.
But here on out, it definitely opens the door to a wide variety of different styles. And I think backers are going to have to tell themselves how much do they want that game and how much do they want transparency. What's the important piece of the Kickstarter puzzle for themselves?
Do you guys think you set, I don't want to say set a precedent, it's not that you're the only honest people that have ever used Kickstarter, but that transparency seemed very novel and unique to me from the outset, because there's a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, but there's some shadiness on Kickstarter with money being used and then money's already existing and all these kinds of things. Do you think that sets a precedent going forward? Because not only was your Kickstarter successful, it was wildly successful, and I think people identified that immediately. So do you think that some sort of new trend might have been set by this new kind of approach to Kickstarter and crowdfunding?
透明性を持って、本当に必要なお金とかアピールするっていうのは、前例は別になかったわけじゃないんですけれども、ただこれからそういうようなキックスターターが増えたり、またそういうアプローチがいいと思ったりしますか？
透明性はあった方がいいと思いますし、やっぱりそのバッカーが信じてお金を預けてくれるので、当然それに対して応えられるようにきちんとしなきゃいけないと僕は思ってます。
Yeah, it's nice. For Iga personally, right? He felt that sort of transparency was definitely important. That right, even in the video, the one piece that everybody was going to see, he was very upfront. He was upfront about the money he was asking for. He was upfront about there being back-end investment. Because from his perspective, you can't go in and ask your average everyday backer, to fund something and not be transparent and not tell them what the real deal is. If you tell them what the real deal is and they support you, then you've already created a relationship of trust, and you need to have that trust to continue through the entire development. If you start giving them more half-truths and less of that transparency, you've internally set a very bad precedent, and you're accepting people's money on top of that. So he did not want to do that.
That makes perfect sense to me. Guys, I really appreciate your time. I'm really, really happy for your guys' success, and really proud of you, too, because you're killing it. And I can't wait. I cannot wait to play Bloodstained. I can't wait. I hope you guys hook me up with that early copy when the time comes. That's it for us here at GameSpot Cross. Kind of funny, but before we go, we're going to kick it over to the guys on camera. And they're going to vamp a little bit. Right, Nick? They're do a little yeah, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Okay, excellent, excellent. All right, so we're going to go now. Iga, right here. Ben Judd, right here. Goodbye.